Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, gather in close and listen with an open heart today. There's a kind of magnetism that can't be faked. A quiet strength that radiates from someone who is at peace with who they truly are. It comes from choosing to show up in the world without the armor of pretenses, without the need to smooth out every edge or hide every flaw. When someone embraces their authenticity, they're not putting on a role or trying to be someone they believe the world will accept. They're simply allowing their true self to rise to the surface. That sense of honesty is incredibly compelling. It feels rare in a world full of filters, impressions, and careful curation. It's what draws people in because authenticity carries an energy that feels safe, real, and trustworthy. It invites those around you to breathe a little easier, to feel accepted, because you're signaling that they can do the same. When you live with authenticity, you don't waste energy trying to keep up a persona that looks good but feels hollow. Instead, you put that energy into living in alignment with your values, your passions, and your unique way of seeing the world. That focus frees you up to be present, to listen better, to respond more fully in every conversation and every interaction. The result is a natural charm that can't be mimicked. It's the kind of presence that lingers long after you've left the room. People remember you because they sense that they've truly met you, not some polished version you thought they'd like more. They feel like they were welcomed into a genuine connection, and that feeling is unforgettable. That authenticity also shapes the way you move through challenges and changes. Life will never be perfectly smooth, and everyone faces moments of uncertainty and discomfort. But when you're grounded in who you are, those moments don't knock you off course as easily. You have a steady inner compass to guide you, your own sense of what feels true, what feels right. This inner clarity comes through in your actions and your words. Others sense the consistency between what you say and what you do. They see that you're not chasing validation or reacting to every fleeting trend. You're living according to a deeper purpose that you won't compromise. That kind of integrity makes you magnetic, and there's an ease that develops over time when you let go of the need to impress. Instead of carefully curating every detail to fit someone else's idea of what's acceptable or admirable, you speak from the heart. You're not searching for the perfect line or the most clever response. You trust that your own voice in its raw and unedited form is enough. That kind of ease invites others to drop their defenses too. It invites a different kind of conversation, one where everyone feels they can simply be. People naturally want to be around that energy because it reminds them they don't have to hide the parts of themselves they thought they needed to. That is the irony of authenticity. The less you try to impress, the more compelling you become. It's not loud or showy. It's a quiet invitation that says, "I am who I am, and that's enough." There's a powerful humility in this. You recognize that you don't need to compete or compare yourself to anyone else. Your value is not measured by the image you project or the approval you receive. It comes from the simple fact that you're a whole person with a unique path, and you honor that. And it's remarkable how often people respond to that honesty by leaning in closer. Even when they can't quite put into words what they find so engaging about you, they recognize a kind of freedom they want for themselves. They sense that you're not playing a part, so they don't have to either. That's what makes authenticity so unforgettable. It resonates in a way that's deeper than any charm or wit could ever reach. It stays with them because they feel seen in your presence. They feel accepted as they are. That kind of interaction is rare and powerful. This inner sense of authenticity is also incredibly stable. It's not easily shaken by the shifting moods and expectations of other people. When someone tries to pressure you to fit into a mold that doesn't suit you, you feel the tension and you don't ignore it. You recognize that twisting yourself into someone you're not would come at too high a cost. It would mean losing touch with the core of who you are, the part that can't be faked or borrowed. That honesty with yourself becomes an anchor. It means you move through the world with a deep knowing that whatever happens, whether someone agrees with you or not, whether you fit in or stand out, you will be okay. And that kind of quiet certainty is beautiful in a way that catches people's attention. It reminds them that they too can stop performing and start showing up as themselves. It invites them to explore who they really are and embrace it. That ripple effect of authenticity reaches far beyond you. Every genuine moment you offer, every time you choose to simply be yourself, you inspire someone else to do the same. That is the power of authenticity. It shines a light that allows everyone around you to see themselves more clearly. When someone is driven by a deep sense of purpose, there's an energy that's impossible to ignore. It's as if they move with a quiet current beneath everything they do, a current that carries them towards something meaningful. That energy doesn't demand attention loudly. It simply draws people in because it's real, steady, and alive. Every conversation, every project, every small action feels guided by an inner compass, and that kind of focus resonates with people on a very human level. It tells them that this is someone who knows why they're here, someone who isn't drifting aimlessly but living with intention. That is immensely attractive because most people recognize that sense of purpose as something they want to feel too. Living with purpose isn't about having all the answers or reaching some final destination. It's about allowing your beliefs and your passions to shape the way you show up in the world. When your decisions and habits align with a deeper why, you speak with conviction without forcing it. You listen with patience because you understand that every interaction can matter, and you give of yourself generously because your actions feel connected to something larger than your own ego. Others can sense that your presence is not self-serving, it's a presence that carries its own light. That light is magnetic because it reminds people of the power they have to live more intentionally too. And it's subtle. You can't fake this kind of purposefulness. It grows when you take the time to reflect on what matters most to you, when you recognize what energizes you and what drains you. It grows when you have the courage to say yes to what's aligned and no to what isn't, even if that means walking away from something comfortable or expected. That kind of discernment becomes part of the way you carry yourself. Even if you never say a word about it, people pick up on the fact that you've chosen a path that's meaningful to you. And that choice sets you apart in a world where so many are pulled by distractions and superficial goals. When someone knows their purpose, it simplifies what they focus on. They stop scattering their energy across things that don't matter and instead invest their time in what truly resonates. That focus looks like clarity, and that clarity looks like confidence. But not the kind of confidence that tries to convince everyone they're right or superior. It's a confidence born of knowing they're on their own true path. That kind of grounded self-assurance is appealing because it feels so rare. It reminds others that they can live that way too, and they naturally want to stay close to someone who is living proof that such a life is possible. And purpose fuels resilience. When you're connected to something deeper than temporary wins or losses, setbacks don't feel like the end of the story. They feel like part of the process. That kind of resilience reveals itself in the way you handle challenges, not with empty optimism, but with a calm acceptance that there will always be another chance to grow, to try again. It's inspiring because people can sense that your motivation isn't tied to fleeting circumstances. It's rooted in something that can't be taken away. That steady, hopeful endurance is one of the most quietly captivating qualities someone can possess. People are also drawn to purpose, driven energy because it tends to spill into the way you support others. When you have a strong sense of your own purpose, you recognize the same hunger in those around you. You encourage them to explore what lights them up. You celebrate their progress without feeling threatened by their success. That kind of generosity of spirit is magnetic in its own right. It signals that you're secure enough in your own path that you can genuinely want the best for someone else's, and that freedom from jealousy or comparison is incredibly refreshing. And as you continue to grow into your purpose, it shapes the way you take risks. Even when stepping into unfamiliar territory, you do so with a kind of grounded courage. It's not recklessness. It's an openness to growth, guided by the quiet trust that your purpose is there to catch you if you stumble. That attitude is contagious. Being around someone who operates from that inner source of purpose reminds others of their own potential to do the same. They feel uplifted just by witnessing your commitment to live in alignment with what matters most to you. They begin to see that there is a deeper rhythm to life, one that they too can tap into whenever they're ready, when someone has the capacity to truly listen, to feel alongside another person without judgment or interruption. There's an unspoken magnetism that naturally follows. Empathy is one of those traits that cannot be imitated, because it asks you to put yourself aside long enough to enter into someone else's experience. In a world where most people are busy thinking about their own stories, someone who listens with genuine care and responds with heartfelt understanding stands out in a quiet but profound way. That kind of presence makes people feel safe enough to be themselves, to reveal their thoughts and feelings without fear of being dismissed or minimized. And that's what builds deep, lasting trust. When you make empathy a practice, you begin to recognize how much everyone around you carries beneath the surface. Whether they speak in careful tones or pour their hearts out, you can sense the emotion beneath the words, the fears they rarely mention, the hopes they hardly dare voice. This sensitivity requires patience and an openness to whatever may emerge. It requires stepping away from your own assumptions and leaning into their reality, allowing them to feel witnessed and validated. That generosity of attention is irresistible because it honors their humanity at its most basic level. It reminds them that someone cares enough to hold space for what they are feeling. And as you do this more often, people come to trust you without needing proof. They sense that you don't just listen to reply or offer advice. You listen to understand. That distinction is felt at a very deep level. It turns casual interactions into meaningful connections because it signals that you see them as more than their role or their surface image. You see them as a full, evolving person. That ability to recognize their inner landscape without pushing your own agenda opens a door to real connection, and that connection is unforgettable. Empathy also reveals itself in small, consistent actions. The way you remember someone's concerns even after the conversation ends. The way you check in because you genuinely care rather than out of obligation. The way you take the time to appreciate their effort without expecting anything in return. All these gestures add up. They form a pattern that people recognize, a pattern of someone who is present and attentive enough to value the experiences of others as much as their own. Over time, that pattern shapes the way people feel around you. They feel accepted, heard, and less alone. That is a powerful kind of attraction, and it's not limited to the words you say. Your posture, your eye contact, your willingness to let a moment breathe without jumping to conclusions, all these nonverbal cues communicate that you are fully present. Others can sense when someone is truly with them, rather than simply waiting for their turn to speak or half listening while their thoughts wander elsewhere. That level of attunement carries its own energy. It slows the pace of rushed conversation and makes room for honesty, for raw and unscripted sharing. Being someone who naturally cultivates, that space draws people to you, because it fulfills a need so rarely met in most interactions. And as you practice empathy, it shapes the way you respond even when someone's behavior is difficult or their emotions are strong. Instead of reacting defensively or judging them by their most imperfect moment, you look deeper. You recognize that frustration often masks pain, that silence can hide worry, that a sharp tone might spring from exhaustion rather than malice. This capacity to hold someone's complexity with compassion allows them to feel less judged and more understood. Even if they never explicitly thank you for this grace, they register it on some level. It leaves an impression they can't easily forget. Empathy also changes the energy you bring into every room. There's a softness in your presence, an assurance that whoever approaches you will be met with respect and an open heart. It's not a softness that suggests passivity or weakness, quite the opposite. It takes strength to sit with someone else's struggle without trying to fix it immediately, to listen without centering yourself. That strength is what others find so compelling, because it embodies a depth of character they rarely encounter. It's a reminder that human connection is built on mutual care and understanding, and that you have committed yourself to being a person who holds those values at the center of your interactions. And as that commitment deepens, empathy becomes a part of the way you live your life. It informs the way you speak to strangers and loved ones alike, the way you navigate disagreements, the way you celebrate someone's joys as if they were your own. That kind of enduring empathy cannot help but leave a mark on everyone you touch, inspiring them to look at one another and at themselves with greater kindness too, and creating a ripple effect that keeps moving outward long after the moment has passed when someone is brave enough to show their true self, especially the parts that feel uncertain or imperfect. They radiate a strength that is instantly captivating. Vulnerability is not about putting on a show of emotions for attention or exaggerating one's struggles. It's about allowing others to see the real, unpolished you, the questions you don't yet have answers to, the fears that still visit you in quiet moments, the hopes you hardly dare speak aloud. That openness takes tremendous courage because it defies the cultural norm that prizes appearing flawless, self-sufficient, and invulnerable at all times. By choosing to lower those walls, you create a powerful sense of authenticity that others can feel immediately, and it draws them closer because they recognize that they, too, long to be accepted as they truly are. When you let yourself be seen in this way, people sense a deeper kind of confidence. It's a confidence that doesn't come from having your life perfectly arranged, or your achievements lined up neatly for everyone to admire. It's a confidence born from knowing that your value is not determined by an image you project, but by the simple fact that you are a human being with a story still unfolding. That kind of self-assurance is magnetic because it invites others to let go of their own masks. They feel freer in your presence, less pressured to impress or to hide. In sharing your vulnerabilities, you give them unspoken permission to do the same, and that mutual exchange becomes a bond built on real understanding. Vulnerability also deepens the way you relate to others during times of struggle. When someone reaches out with their pain, you don't offer empty platitudes or rush to smooth over their discomfort. Instead, you're able to stay present with them, drawing on your own experiences of hardship to offer compassion without judgment. You recognize their fears because you've felt your own, and you understand their hesitancy to be seen at their weakest because you've been there too. That empathy isn't something you can fake. It comes naturally when you've embraced your own humanity enough to extend that same grace to someone else. And that is the kind of presence that lingers in people's hearts long after the moment has passed. There is also a kind of resilience that emerges from allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Paradoxically, the more you embrace your flaws and fears instead of denying them, the stronger you grow. Vulnerability requires a willingness to take risks, to speak honestly when you'd rather stay silent, to acknowledge when you don't have all the answers, to reveal the effort it takes to navigate your own insecurities. Every time you do this, you chip away at the illusion that strength is about never showing weakness. In its place, you build a deeper strength, one that is grounded in honesty and self-acceptance. People admire this kind of strength because it's real, because they can feel that it wasn't handed to you easily, but earned through your willingness to face yourself. And vulnerability is also incredibly generous. It's an offering to those around you, an invitation for them to let go of their own perfectionism and simply be who they are. When someone dares to be honest about their mistakes or share their fears, it signals that they see you as someone trustworthy enough to hold that part of them. That trust is a gift. It fosters a deeper connection that no carefully curated image ever could. Instead of keeping conversations shallow and safe, vulnerability invites them to go deeper, to explore the parts of themselves that often go unspoken. The resulting connections are not only richer and more memorable, they also inspire others to embrace a similar openness. And as you continue to lean into your vulnerability, it shapes the way you face your future as well. You stop chasing the illusion that you must have everything under control before you take the next step. You accept that some amount of uncertainty is part of being alive, part of pursuing anything that truly matters. That acceptance frees you to make choices based on what's meaningful instead of what looks good on the outside. It allows you to grow, to take creative risks, to follow passions you might have ignored before because you feared they weren't perfect enough or impressive enough. And those kinds of choices produce a very particular kind of glow, the light that shines through someone who is more committed to being true than to appearing perfect. Someone who is unforgettably real in a world too often defined by pretense and surface impressions.